outsource everything, delegate everything. Oh, I'm working 15-hour weeks. Oh, I'm working 10-hour weeks, which is awesome. That was a great achievement. And I needed that to start having a personal life again.
Today, I have with me an incredible woman, Ayesha. She is powerful, but she is also soft and devotional. And I have just loved getting to witness this woman over the past couple of years.
The world is going to drastically change. So if we spend a lot of energy holding on to how things were in the past, there is no going backwards, right? So when we can just let that go and just like be present where we are in our 2 feet and know, like,
I do think so many people believe that they need to choose this or that. Happiness or money, love or business, and
exploring different facets of yourself, exploring different hobbies, and just feeling the richness of life.
Welcome to Unmasked Founders with Leslie Kay. This is the podcast that goes beyond the highlight reel of entrepreneurship. Instead of focusing on the accolades and achievements, this show explores the real moments that shape founders, the challenges, the breakthroughs, and the lessons that transform both the business and the human behind it. Hosted by me, Leslie Kay, an entrepreneur who has built empires and discovered the cost of success. Unmasked Founders is a space for honest conversations about growth, resilience, and staying true to who you are. Whether listeners are just starting out or scaling to the next level, this is where real stories are told. Welcome to Unmasked Founders, a conversation with me, Leslie Kay.
Welcome back to Unmasked Founders, the conversations behind the highlight reels. Today, I have with me an incredible woman, Ayesha. She is powerful, but she is also soft and devotional, and I have just loved getting to witness this woman over the past couple of years. We met, God, 4 years ago on a pilgrimage in Egypt, I know. And yeah, it's just been such an incredible to keep watching her go from success to success to success. But when I launched Unmasked Founders, I knew that I had to get her on because me and Ayesha have had some deep conversations behind the scenes about what it actually took to get there. And there's some through lines in our childhood, but I will let her share that all. Welcome to the podcast, Ayesha.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to go deep with you tonight.
I want to start with, just so for those that don't know you, they should, but in case they don't, where are you at now? Like, talk to me about your business, what you do, and as much as you're comfortable, like your success and where you're at when it comes to wealth.
So I started my brand called Oath Oracle. The name actually was a name oath that I was going by as a performance artist, as a dancer for years before my business. And I'd been doing astrology readings paid for about 2 years before the start of my business. And so I'm a projector in human design. So I'm sure some of the listeners know and are into it. So everything was through invitation, now looking back in retrospect. And so I loved astrology since I was 14. I'm 36 now. So it's been over 22 years of studying astrology. And a few years before starting my business, it was one of my 5 side hustles. I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was the naked girl being drawn in the art class where the person is posing. I was the girl giving the stamps at the door of the Afro Beats night. I was doing all kinds of stuff. Some of these things I will not even say out loud. I was doing all kinds of stuff. And one of my things I was doing was astrology readings. And then that started to blossom. And then I saw some really advantageous astrology in my own chart. And I was like, it pinged something in me that I was like, this is going to be the time to start my business now and like make a website. At the time, it was just make a website. I was not following entrepreneurs. I was not following astrologers online. There was actually a lot less astrologers online even 5 years ago. There was like Chani Nicholas, And so I was going to start my website. That date ended up being March 20th, 2020, which was in Canada, like the day one of the first lockdown during COVID. So that was a really crazy. I picked the date in October 2019. Wow. And I was like, this is going to be, I marked it on the calendar. I was like, this is it. So since then, it's been an amazing journey. I mean, because I grew up without very much. I grew up with like actual poverty, like mom, like going to the food bank with mom, like all kinds of stuff. We can get into it more. But I grew up without a lot of money. And in my first 12 months in business, I hit 6 figures. The second year was 385,000. The third year was 615,000. It kind of kept going sort of in that direction to be stabilized at multiple 6 figures per year since then. So the recent milestone for revenue that my business has crossed is 2.5 million in total revenue in 5 years. So it's been a beautiful journey. There's been a lot of, as I'm sure you can relate, wow, a huge influx of success and like money I never dreamed. Let's now like show you all the cracks in your foundation and all the places you need healing. So it's been quite a journey. And where I'm sitting right now is in a space where I've really been in the exploration of who I am outside of the identity of success, because I quickly did hitch my cart to the horse of the identity of success pretty early. I was like, wow, all my life I felt unseen. All my life I dropped out of high school when I was 15. All my life I felt like I had no future, all that kind of stuff. So all of a sudden I had it, and I also didn't have money, right? So all of a sudden I had all of that. And then I had to go through a process on the other side of the peak of that, of who am I as a woman? And I feel like that's where we intersected as well, in terms of like being in spiritual pilgrimage in Egypt that had nothing to do with business. And yet we connected as two very powerful ambitious ass women, and then also in another container where we were doing devotional feminine arts work. And so I know you get it.
I get it, and I love this so much. So thank you so much for sharing. I love that you've brought identity straight into this, because unmasked, the whole premise of this is, who are we behind the success? What does it actually mean to be a woman, and like a woman at her core versus almost like, I don't know, the mission that God's placed on our heart to serve in such a big way. So I would love to speak to this identity piece, and I'm assuming some ego deaths, because that's what it was true for me. When we met in Egypt, actually, I just sold my multi-million-dollar recruitment business, and I was going through a full like, well, if I'm not a recruiter and I don't have $1 million business, and who the fuck am I? And what do I do with my life? And to be fair, 4 years on, I'm still asking myself those questions. So yeah, I would love to touch on this identity piece around the realization that you have noticed about having an attachment to being successful, and what walking that path has revealed, and how you've sort of navigated holding the business and almost like the unbecoming inside of your success whilst you're still successful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I know exactly what you mean, because it's so tempting to be like, oh, I need to do some healing, so I must burn everything down in order to do that. And that's not, when we're in it for longevity.
Don't do it, guys. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Do you know what's so funny? I'm just going to touch on this quickly. When I restarted my virtual assistant agency, which is essentially recruitment, and I'm in some recruitment endeavors at the moment, I was like, I didn't need to burn it down. I didn't need to start again. So everyone, please listen to Ayesha and don't listen to what I did 6 years ago, because it's been really painful to rebuild, and you don't have to. You can hold both. So please talk to that.
Yeah, it's so indicative of like the beliefs that we might hold, that a part of us still thinks we need to choose, right? A part of us still think, maybe for some of us, part of us still thinks we might need to choose. Like, I need to either be this or be that. And if I want to now work on my heart, or be in my feminine, or just be a woman and just be a raw, just myself as a woman without these things, I need to burn this other thing down. That's actually a mirror reflecting to us that, oh, there's a part of me that has this black and white thinking about things. Funny how I'm wearing like black and white stuff right now.
And I'm in black. We organize this. It's fine.
I don't think I've seen you in black very much, but I guess we were in Egypt where you wear a lot of white, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what you said. You really nailed it in terms of like being in your business and detangling from certain things while you're still within the container. Because it's like something I say with a business is, you build a house. It takes that work at the beginning. Don't listen to people that say, oh yeah, it's easy. Yes, it can be easy. I've had 10K and 20K days that were fucking easy, where I was on the beach or I was traveling or whatever. But what I say to my clients is, first you build the house, then you live in it. So you want to live in the house, you got to build it first. And that part is hard. And then once it's built, you can do renovations, and maybe some part of it needs to be taken down, but like there's still another part of it that exists. You know what I mean? So you're not burning it down, but let's say you want to add a wing, or this one part, you built it as best as you could with what you knew, and then you realize, okay, this doesn't actually work long term. We need to dismantle this one part, but you're actually still maintaining the structure of the house and the containership of the house.
I love that analogy, because I burnt down the house, and literally to your point, it's like because I operated so long without my heart on board. And then it's like when my heart came online, it was like, oh, we can't have this because we didn't build it with our heart. And I love this analogy of like, guys, you're renovating, like leave the rooms that work, like the strategy, the foundations, maybe the customer delivery, you know, the team that's working. But actually, I'm going to come over here and look at my leadership and actually do some work on how I lead myself, how I lead my business. What's the next evolution? So I love that you've brought that in, because I do think so many people believe that they need to choose this or that, happiness or money, love or business. And it's just not true. And I don't think until you're on the other side of it, like I am, where you're like, oh, it didn't. And I think as well, because my childhood was so harsh, it's like I felt like every change in my life needed to be such pain and bigness, and like this only works if I burn everything down in the process. So talk to me about the identity shift for you, and you know, if you're still in it, what that looks like, and maybe some practical tips for someone that's listening, because you just shared so much gold of like, guys, we're renovating, we're not burning it down. So talk me through how you do that in such a big brand. You know, you have such a big following. You've shared so much, like it's like watching you come out and speak more of your truth and be like, this is my stance on XYZ. That might be very political and confronting for some, and how you've sort of stood in that truth and held the expectation that I'm sure the world projects onto you, being so outwardly facing.
Thank you so much for seeing that side of me, because that is the social justice side is such a pure part of my heart. And that was a piece that didn't make sense, quote unquote, for my business that was about astrology and business. And it's like, here's this other thing that's part of it, and I don't have offers about that directly at the moment, and I haven't felt called to make something directly about that. So that was one of those things where my logical mind and my business mind, my strategy mind was like, you shouldn't talk about things. And sometimes I've had conversations with coaches that would say, oh, make a separate account for that, and I'm just like, no. instant no, full body no. So thank you for that. And something that came, and I'm going to answer your question about identity, but something that came up as you were speaking for me was, we both have Chiron in Cancer, don't we?
Yeah.
That's the wounded healer archetype, the wounded healer asteroid for the listeners who aren't familiar. And Cancer is the sign of home and safety. So money and business is so connected to our safety. And we know that it's not the same as getting a salary and having the benefits and having the health all taken care of, and you show up and do your work. It's different. We can create, you know, I do actually have a salary from myself. We can create that, but it's still the responsibility will always lie on us to create that provision in a way. Obviously, we're co-creating with spirit at the same time. But I wanted to say that because I was feeling it as you were speaking of like, oh, it just hits on another level when there are certain wounds around safety at the deepest level in the places we were supposed to feel the most safe. And then there can become this comfort zone with chasing the highs and chaotic situations that we're unconsciously creating. So there's a lot to explore in anyone's own chart, is like your Chiron placement and your South Node placement. Those are really juicy places to look when it's like, I'm feeling like I want to burn things down, but let's zoom out and take a bit more of a broader perspective on things and recognize, oh, something is triggered or dysregulated. Something feels off, and actually zooming out from our tunnel vision. And one of the ways I do that is looking at the astrology. Like that's, you know, I'm like, oh, wow, this huge stellium's happening in my house of death and rebirth. Like no shit, you know, and that's going to move and it's going to change. And sometimes that gives a lot of insight. But on the identity piece, you know, first, my journey of becoming Oath Oracle was during the pandemic when everyone was locked down and everyone was online. And I got to have this ascension and this blow up that was like way beyond my goal was to make $60,000 a year one day. And I thought, I didn't know how business worked. I thought like, oh, if I just reach 60K, I'll just keep that up for the rest of my life and I'll be good, literally. And so it was this huge thing that changed so much. All this voltage came into my life. And I, like I said, finally felt seen, finally had money, finally felt recognized for my gifts and talents when I had dropped out of school and I never had a job where I was actually expressing my natural gifts. So it felt like those were being wasted. So it gave me so much. But then it was almost the perfect puzzle piece also for my inner transformation that was very confronting for me. And this is where business becomes the path of personal development, a personal development and mastery path for the people that are on that tip internally of I'm here to grow, I'm here to evolve. Then when we see that of, oh, I've outgrown this offer. or I made this for the wrong reasons, or I created this from an energy of fear and scarcity. And it is an element of Jengaing, you know, where it's like, okay, I'm moving this, and I hope the other things aren't like moving so much, and making the subtle shifts and like being in the dance. And I think one thing was really important in it is giving myself permission to, it's like what you said of like, I'm staying in the room, but I'm also, I think the thing that changed it for me was committing to my own attunement to how I was feeling. And that required a lot of inner child work, because I grew up, my needs were not important. I was never validated. I was not seen. I didn't even know how I felt, because that taught me how to treat myself. But when I was actually attuned with myself, and I had the blow up and, oh, I'm Oath Oracle and I'm this brand. And then moving toward experiencing burnout, because I had no boundaries. I would take clients on the weekend. I was on a very big podcast early on, and I was booked out 6 months in advance. If someone DM'd me and asked if they could book sooner, I'd be like, oh, I could do Sunday or this. So I had that period of time, which was just downward spiraling, but making more money than ever, and externally projecting all my success, which was, oh, I just made this much today. Oh, I'm booked out for 6 months in advance. Meanwhile, inside, really kind of dying inside, but not being aware of it, because I was almost high on the success and recognition. And so then the burnout healing chapter happened. I also ended a relationship right around that time, and I moved 3,000 kilometers away based on an intuition. I bought this condo without ever seeing it in person. So I very much had spirit come in and be like, there needs to be a change right now. And I was like, yes, sir. Okay. And then living alone, that was a huge, I would say the name of the identity would be to really just start seeing myself as this full spectrum woman. And it wasn't just about what I could do for others. And it wasn't just about, I think there was a proving energy. There was definitely a proving energy, like deep down rooted in my nervous system. And just getting to know who I am as a woman, meeting my new friend community in Montreal as me. And then some people took 2 years to find out what I do online. Some of my friends and not my close friends, but friends in my community, like just figured it out. And I love that. I love that. Just being seen as a woman. And so I don't know if that was the full identity answer. I think in one more piece I'll say on the identity, like title is artist. I think that really shifted things for me as well. Go ahead. Sorry.
Claiming the identity of artist.
Yeah, stepping into my artistry and letting that be more of a guiding light, because there's a lot of things that could sell more. Like it was like changing the hierarchy of money being at the top and thinking that, because of course that it's not just money. It was thousands of clients having real impact, people crying, people having amazing, and I knew what I was good at teaching, and I knew what would work, and I knew what people wanted. And it kind of took it from being this like triangle with like the top of the hierarchy is money to being more of a circle. Where it's like, yeah, money is important still. And I'm a business coach. Money is relevant. I still talk about money. I still share my money wins. It's relevant. It's part of it. But also, am I creatively fulfilled? Also, does this feel like a true yes for me? And like a question that I ask myself sometimes is like, is this mine to create? Because just because I can make another course on sales, or I can make an email marketing course because people ask questions about that, is that really what I want to be remembered for? Is that really... Yeah, so just some like reflections like that along the way. And it's not that I've ever, like exactly like you said at the beginning, like still figuring it out, right? Like clients will reflect to me, oh, like your business seems so like organized. And I'm like, okay, what? Like, I'm glad it seems that way, but like, it's never that perfect place of like, I've arrived and everything is clicked in and I have total clarity. Sure, there might be moments of that, but it's also being comfortable and allowing yourself to be in the flux of it.
Well, comfortable in the discomfort, I think for me, and even touching to this piece of the initiation that business is and the forever evolution of self in business, it's kind of what we sign up for, in my view. It's not like you arrive at a destination, same as a healing journey. There's no one place to get to. It's just, well, I'm a forever student of life and God's plan and what wants to move through me in a business sense. I wanted to touch on this burnout and having no boundaries and essentially an essence of people pleasing, because I see this so often, especially in women that have an identity attached to almost a little bit of a savior complex, which I imagine weaves through from childhood, because we have similar childhood stories, but it's like, I want to rescue the people that are in pain because my mum was in pain. So how can I negate my needs to fulfill someone else's needs, because we're forever like, if I, in what was my experience, if I keep her happy, then I'm safer. And that sort of bleeds into, well, I'm going to put everyone else before me because I'm safe if I'm in service or if I'm giving someone something, or if I'm needed in some way that makes people happy. But we tend to, and anyone with this vein that runs through them, leave ourselves behind, leave ourselves off the table. And I think this like, it's like a martyrdom, like that I see in women, where it's, they need me, and if I didn't work, or if I didn't say yes, or if I didn't show up, then their life would be shit in some way, and I would be responsible because I haven't given them what they've asked of me. I want to speak to how you recognize that. Was it, did you, I know you hit burnout, but were there signs? Like, as I'm thinking of the woman at home and the women that I coach, and, you know, someone that's picked up this podcast and they're listening and like, oh, wow, yeah, I think I'm going to get burnout. And I say yes all the time. And I work, you know, I was working 12-hour days, 6 and 7 days a week, because I was the same. If a client asked something of me, the answer was yes. They could give me 10 jobs on a Friday night at 6 o'clock, and I would have plans on the weekend, and I would cancel the plans and fill the job. So, and I know, because I coach women like this, there's so many women that do the same, because they're like addicted to being needed because they didn't have their needs met, so they fulfill everyone else's needs. So how did you identify that? And, you know, we can say that now with the knowledge and like healing and wisdom, but when you were in it, what were some signs that you wish you had have paid attention to sooner?
I feel like part of it for me was also my relationship to career and purpose, where I had never tasted success of any kind before I started my business. So there was this element not only of I want to help people, and for sure like some sort of sneaky element of like, oh, like they need me and I like, you know, what is it? But there was also the part of me that was, I'm so lucky to be able to do this because I used to work 40 hours a week at a cafe doing the closing procedures and doing stuff that, filling my brain with stuff that had nothing to do with it. Sure, it was fun. It was great. You know, I always made the most of whatever situation I was in. But then when I applied that resourcefulness and that, you know, the scrappy of like, you know, that's what the environment of childhoods like ours will either create someone really scrappy or create someone who doesn't make it, like in some way, you know what I mean? Like, because it's so, you have to kind of like figure out how to transmute it and make the situation better. So then you put that version of me and drop her in this business where it felt like there was unlimited money, so much demand, so everyone wanted something. And then it was just, I just fully like threw myself on the chopping block, but it was very confusing to see that as being people pleasing because I thought I was getting exactly what I wanted. Because I was the one making money. I was the one growing my brand. I was the one people are sharing me on their stories. Big accounts are sharing me. People are doing video testimonials. Like people were talking about me. And so I would tell myself, because in comparison to what I used to do, where I did stuff I didn't even care about, now I'm doing what I loved. It was almost like, who am I to say no when I'm so lucky to be able to do this? I used to work 8 hours doing this. So why not do 8 hours of calls in a day, which is it took me years to decondition from that one. When a call, especially a reading call where it's not that much of a two-way conversation, it's more of a waterfall of codes all over you in my projector laser, just like that is beyond time. It cannot be measured in time. But I was doing that. And I would shame myself when it's like, I used to do like 4 or 5 readings a day sometimes. Like my schedule is 48 to 52 readings per month, new people every single month. So that's 100 people every 2 months. Some of them would come back for a solar birthday reading, but most of the time it was just different people. So imagine that on my nervous system. Wow. And I had other clients too. I was doing coaching as well. So I think that the main thing was I was completely dissociated from myself because otherwise I would have felt what my boundaries and capacity was. And I just pushed and pushed because I had a capacity to push because all my life I had done that. I'd worked overtime. I'd taken the extra shifts at every job. I had grown up not being connected to my body or my needs and not being taught that they were important. And then just really seeing money also as a savior to me. Like money was the way out because money was the cause of all my problems with my mom and dad and all their problems with each other, apparently. And just really seeing that like I got to take every opportunity, but in business, there is infinite opportunities every single day. So I had to like stop taking that so literally. I used to take it literally, like work as hard as you can, try as hard as you can. That would be till I would be sick. That would be till I would crumble into tears. But then if you looked at my stories, you would see someone that's like, oh, I'm so booked out for all these months. Oh, like another great testimonial. And then I'm like, not doing well actually personally. So I think it came down, if I could do something differently, or learn from that and share the wisdom, it's about being attuned to your body and really feeling when your body is a no and knowing what a no and a yes is in your body. And for some people, it's like, there's a difference between short-term desires and long-term desires, right? So we sometimes, you're trying to start a yoga practice or a fitness practice, and there's going to be times you don't feel like it, but it's actually in your best interest long-term to be like, okay, I don't feel like it, but I'm building a new habit, I'm building new neural pathways, and so I'm going to go and do it. But then there's also times where it's not that. And I didn't I needed to discern that, and I had to learn very much so the hard way on that one. And then there was a lot of emotional pieces as well, where it took like the iron grip that I had on that. It took a while to loosen that up and feel the feelings of vulnerability that were inside.
They were present. So much gold in that.
Quick pause. Are these conversations resonating with you? Do you finally feel seen in your business journey? This is the entire mission of Unmasked Founders. To strip back the highlight reel and tell the raw truth about multi, 6 and 7-figure success. We're here for the emotional costs, the days you want to quit, and the breakthroughs that follow. And we can bring you these essential conversations thanks to the support of our incredible partners, Cacao Collective and the OE Agency. These are the businesses who empower founders to keep going, providing the systems and the professional polish you need when you're busy navigating the emotional storm. If you love what you're hearing, don't miss an episode. Hit that subscribe button right now and check out Cacao Collective and the OE Agency in the show notes. Now, let's get back to it.
I think I want to start with this, getting to know what your yes and what your no is. And the discernment, because you just raised a good point. It's like not just so much about, okay, now I know what my no is, because sometimes our no comes from a place of like fear versus truth. And to your point, like some days I don't fucking want to show up. But it's not like I'm pushing myself. It's just that there's a part of me that might be in fear, a part of me that's trying to hide, a part of me that's trying to avoid my responsibility. And it's different than I've worked 4 days straight and I need a break. It's like the energy of avoidance. Not everyone is going to know what that feels like, but I think if we relate it back to what you said at the beginning, like when you ask yourself, where is this coming from? Like, what's the internal motivation? And sometimes we have to just get shit done because that's what it requires to take a business. And you spoke to this at the beginning. There's seasons of building. Like there's seasons of putting the foundations in so you have the house to live in. And I love that you brought that in because, feminine teachings especially sort of... When I first found feminine teachings, I didn't really work for 12 months. And at the end of that 12 months, I'd made barely no money. Why? Because I wasn't taking action to make money. And I think there's a lot of misinformation, confusion, people talking about ease and flow once they've built the house. And to your point, once you've built it, it's built. You don't have to work long hours because you just maintain the house. You're just doing handyman jobs versus construction jobs. And then to this point of almost like where gratitude, the gratefulness of what we have, traps us in sacrifice, and we call it compromise. So similar, grew up in poverty, grew up poor. So every time I make money, even if it kills me, I should be grateful for that because at least I'm not getting abused. At least I'm not a junkie. At least I'm not on the dole, XYZ, enter all of the reasons why I should be grateful for the fact that I was making millions of dollars that was killing me. And I see, again, so many women that get in this trap of, I should be grateful because, and then enter all the ways in which you're self-abandoning. I can't take a break because I was working as a stripper and now I'm making money, or I was working at McDonald's and now I'm making money, or I was working in a 6-figure job and my boss was an asshole and now I work for myself. I'm going to work twice as hard because at least it's my name on the door. But you've just built yourself another prison and you're the one treating yourself like your boss used to treat you. And for me, it's such a phenomenon of self-sacrifice dressed up as compromise. It's actually what my talk is on, because it was the same in my marriage. I had $1 million business, so I should be thankful that my husband isn't abusive, even though we had no intimacy, we hadn't had sex in 12 months, even though we weren't actually aligned as people, you know. And for years I lived in this echo chamber, and I witness it in women so often that haven't found their like identity and self and their no of, I'm going to keep saying I should be grateful because I could have it so much worse. And inside of that, it's like an internalized patriarchy, honestly. It's like it's the internalized, like, I'm going to whip myself until I bleed because I don't want to go back to where I came from. Or if I don't work hard, then I'm not grateful enough for the opportunities that I have. So yeah, like in your experience with breaking free from that, what were some of the ways, because you've spoken to how you witnessed it now, and I think for me it's like I started breathwork. I tell everyone breathwork was my gateway drug. One day I was like, oh, I'm going to try breathwork because I actually did it because I wanted to be more productive. Here's me working 10, 12-hour days, like feeling like I was highly stressed. Discovered breathwork and I wanted to biohack myself so I could work longer.
Yeah.
Little did I know. And that was the moment where I literally stopped and I breathed and I paused and I was like, oh, it's like the first time I felt myself. And I was, 30 years old at that point. So, yeah, I would love to know, with the retrospective viewpoint that you have now, if there's a woman listening and she's like, oh my God, I did the exact same. What next? What now? What have you done to pull yourself from that identity and move into, I want to say, like, to me, it feels like balance, and not in like the work-life balance. I think it's a blend in my view. I think it's an ecosystem of giving and receiving, and inside of work and life, and building a lifestyle and a business that co-create together. But for a woman that's listening that's like, I don't even know where to begin and I think this is me, what has worked for you to come out of that, I want to say, like almost trance?
Yeah, it is a trance because you're acting in an automatic way. Like you kind of do become a bit of a robot. And I had to, first it was awareness on the tough truths that I was telling myself, oh no, this is what I want because I want the things that this will get me. I want the money and the recognition. And so I do want to do this because I want these things that it gets me. But the core of it was still coming from fear. Like the core of the action. So I think that's a reflection to have. It's like, are you launching another program because you're afraid or because this is actually coming through? And so that was very confronting. That alone was very confronting. And like you said not wanting to go back where you came from, right? So then we know that there's like a way of describing the goals where you're going towards something. Yes. Like, oh, I'm going toward this life that I want versus I'm running away from how it used to be. And so I very much had this feeling of I'm digging myself out of a hole. I have to dig myself out of this hole. Like I felt like in the Dark Knight Batman movie where there's like this deep hole where it's like one of the bad characters like came from, and you realize they like went through this crazy trauma of like being in this like really deep hole, literally a hole. And I felt like that. And then the funny thing was that I created that through my shopping addiction and constantly being in debt, no matter how much money I was making. And so that was a huge mirror for me. And so I know everyone's heard this a million times, but it was nervous system work. And it was actually feeling the sensations of my body, because even when I was doing breath work, I was doing it and I still love breath work. I was doing it in a way of check a box. Like, let me do this practice, check a box, but actually it did bring me to my body to a degree, but not to the fullness of actually being with my feelings and actually feeling how I actually felt about things. Not, oh, I want this because this gets me money and I'm seeing these metrics. Okay, yay, check that. Like actually feeling how I was feeling within that. And slowly, so things like gentle somatic movements. I was always like a hardcore person, like hardcore workouts, hardcore this, like exactly what you're saying, I had to laugh when you said biohacking to be more productive, right? Like biohack my way out of all this stuff. And I had really severe kind of issues with my nervous system because of childhood trauma and then substance abuse. Substance abuse really like made everything so much worse. So then starting my primarily sober journey, I'm not 100% substance free now, but I took 9 months of complete and total being substance free to reset. And now it's very rare, very special occasion that I will even have a sip of alcohol. So that was really important for me. Addiction is something that was present on both sides of my family and with my siblings and with every man I ever dated. So there was a lot there. Also celibacy. So I was celibate, single, sober. Like I lived living alone for the first time in my life with my cat. Thank goodness for my cat. I don't know what to think about without her, but alone with my cat here and just being confronted with myself and seeing myself through all different seasons and being attuned to know what I need at different times, because sometimes you need to relax and chill out. Sometimes you need to get going and get building again. And the one thing also that was a sign for me along the way was my goal at a certain point was to work as little as possible, outsource everything, delegate everything. Oh, I'm working 15-hour weeks. Oh, I'm working 10-hour weeks, which is awesome. That was a great achievement. And I needed that to start having a personal life again. But also then I came full circle with it of realizing, wait, I want to build my business in a way that I don't want to be in it as little as possible. And then I had this funny coming all the way around where I started working more and I started writing all my emails again and I started making sales pages again and getting my hands in there. And I had this weird second honeymoon with my business where it felt like when I first started my business and it was all full of so much wonder, except now a lot of the core issues were healed. So in terms of practices and like things that really help me, nervous system work and like gentle somatic movements, like the rocking, the shaking, the self hug, like it's so slow that it was challenging for me because I just wanted to like do all this stuff. I would do anything. I would do cold plunge, this, that, whatever. It's like the opposite of that. It was like being so gentle, so subtle. And then the sobriety also allowed me to feel more of the subtle currents that my very, at times in the past, extreme substance use, and even in the early years of my business, it wasn't extreme anymore, but I was telling myself, oh, it's okay to do this and when really it was just yet another way of not being connected with myself. And that was the core problem, was that if I was truly feeling how I felt about what I was doing, I would not have continued to do those things. And same with relationships where I was with the wrong person. If I truly was just feeling how I felt in the presence of that person, I wouldn't have stayed in certain toxic dynamics, but I needed to heal my nervous system to even regain that sensitivity that I might have even never experienced, because my mother's nervous system and my grandmother's nervous system, I don't think I started with just like a blank slate of like a normal nervous system. And so cultivating safety for my body by having my home set up in a way that feels really safe, really great, important for Chiron and Cancer people, connecting with my womb and my root chakra. So doing womb and root chakra work. And that's very seasonal. So things like I live in a place with extreme winter, but when it's not covered in ice and snow outside, that's like negative 20 degrees Celsius, placing my root chakra directly against a tree and sitting and just like, it was long and it was slow and it was layer by layer by layer. And also herbal allies helped me a lot. So things like milky oat tincture, and I'm not prescribing this to anyone because I don't know if it's who it's good for, who it's not good for, but going on that journey for me, it was really just this very multifaceted journey of self-love. As cheesy as it sounds, I know everyone, self-love, nervous system, but it's like, that's the real shit. That's really what it is. And the intimacy with myself.
I love this because it's so funny. When I first started my healing journey, I would actually boast about the fact that I was a high achiever in my business and now I'm a high achiever in healing. What I'd really done had taken the addiction for intensity and fast, hard, like get in and get shit done, and just adopted it. Now I had a spiritual name and, I'm doing all this ayahuasca and intense retreats and all this stuff. But really, I was just still addicted to intensity. Mm-hmm. And I love that you've brought in this conversation around slowing down and the softness and the gentleness, because, again, I see it so often. You tell someone that's been addicted to their job and addicted to being a yes woman and addicted to being on all the time to take 4 hours off on a Friday afternoon. And it's like you've just told them to kill their firstborn child. So I really want to bring awareness to this addiction to the slowness. Mm-hmm. I used to actually schedule in, when I first realized this, I would schedule in blank time on my calendar. It sounds counterintuitive because it's in my diary, so technically it's blacked out, but I would literally put like Friday afternoon, like lay in sun naked. Because I had to reteach myself that it was okay to slow down and to reattune to the subtleness, to reattune to your yes and your no. And it's a lot of the work that called in my partner, because it's like I wanted intensity in everything. I was addicted to, because similar, my mum's nervous system, my nana's, my whole lineage on both sides is chaos and trauma. And so I didn't know soft, I didn't know nurturing, I didn't know gentle. There was no co-regulation. And for a very long time, actually, co-regulation scared me. It's why my first marriage failed. Don't think I'm sitting here saying it was all him. I didn't want connection. Connection felt very unsafe to my nervous system. That translating to business, and business and relationship, in my opinion, go hand in hand with the core of who we are. It's like I didn't ever feel safe enough to call in business partners or team members that actually wanted to support me. Everyone wanted to extract from me in some way, because that's what I was used to. So I kept rebuilding this reality where I couldn't trust men. I couldn't trust people that said they wanted to help me in my business, because everyone just wanted me to help make the millions of dollars and didn't actually want to help me. And this pattern for a very long time carried on, even in, before I met my partner, and I was celibate for 4 years, but the men that I was talking to, it's like looking back now until I really slowed down and healed this part of me that was afraid of softness. Like, my partner's big, macho, masculine man, but his heart is so soft and so gentle, and so, like, there's such an innocence to his love. I couldn't have held that 4 years ago, because the safety in that actually would have scared me. And my work for the past 12 months has been actually more stripping back of the identity of success and just being held by him, just being a wife and not being the breadwinner in the relationship. And it's been very confronting, but very needed, because my imprint is intensity, is chaos, is unsafe. So yeah, I love that it's like breath work can be intense, and I think that's a great place for everyone to start. But I love that you've shared with everyone actually the medicine's in the slowing down, in the soft touch, in the gentleness that life is actually meant to be, especially if you come from intensity. And a good way to check, if you're listening, is if you are a self-confessed control freak, if you are working long hours, if you're constantly saying you're stressed and overloaded and tired, and you're the woman who feels like she carries her children, her partner, and her business, and you kind of wear that as a badge of honor, to me that's actually a red flag. Because I don't carry my household, my husband does. I mean, I nurture in my household, but he carries the weight of it. I carry him, he carries the household. As in nurture him, not actually carry him. He's a big man. So yeah, I would just love if you could reflect on that some more and maybe give some more insight, because I think we're in a culture that is probably addicted to intensity and instant gratification, and it's almost like even the highs of being really successful. And how do you identify that and then detach from that? Because for me, again, I started this like 8 years ago now, and I still feel it like weaving through my identity, because it's all I've ever known.
And I just want to say, I'm so happy and such a pleasure to see you in love with a beautiful man, and just every glimpse that you allow us to see on social media is just like literally just like rays of sunshine, like so radiant, so joyous. It's just like absolutely, it's just like, of course, it's just, yeah, it's such a pleasure to know you before, to see it from afar. And, yeah, like I feel like I even see a shift in your embodiment, obviously. So I just want to take a moment to just
thank you. It's been worth every day of celibacy.
Okay, that's nice for me to hear.
Yeah, but I promise you, it's like honestly worth the wait in every aspect.
Yes, and so beautiful. I feel that when we are earning and proving, we have more control over the situation. And even what you voiced to actually not wanting connection, if you're having to prove and earn, you're actually in control of the level of connection if we're talking about relationships. Yeah. So I had to take a hard look at why I was attracted to chaotic men who had substance abuse issues again and again. And realize that because of my own disorganized attachment, which is what I'm kind of like, really recognize that in myself. And that's been a really beautiful field to just like read about and educate myself on, seeing that when someone is just giving me love, there was a part of me that wanted to close shut to that. And it wasn't just about the person. It was also about me seeing that as unsafe. Whereas if someone was not forthcoming, offering their love to me, but there was something, then it created the space where I could then be reaching in some way, energetically reaching, versus being seated where I am. And so the same was kind of true in business too, of the level of control that it gave me and how that gave me a feeling of safety. And I can control how much I work. I can control how, and along the way, it's almost like you're playing a video game a little bit, right? Money and business, kind of like a little video game, and you're like a little athlete, and you're just like, it's you in your own lane. And it's like, great, no one else is here. Like, of course, there's our clients and other people, there are relationships involved in business, but ultimately it's you. And it's so great that we can create these sanctuaries for ourselves. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But then realizing that I was creating a guard within myself. And in terms of like detaching, well, I'm sure I'm not the only person who had to experience it in this way, but it was after having a 6-figure month and then not having another 6-figure month and having some lower revenue months that really where I was like, wow, where's it? Where did it go? And I was panicked. I was panicked, and I was still making great money. I was still making 30 and 40K months, but I was constantly comparing it to 70K months, 120K months constantly. And I'm a business coach, and that actually mirrored to me how much of my talent as a business coach I was associating to my money wins, where I could no longer say that there was a period of time where every single month was higher than the month before. Every single quarter was higher than the quarter before. It was just a straight up line. And of course, anyone who's like been invested in the stock market or have a business, we know it's up and down, but I hadn't experienced that yet. So I could keep living out of alignment with my body because the high revenue was giving me the drug dose that I needed to be like, I am happy with this, even though I had health issues, I had chronic pain, I had all this stuff going on, and I was just completely ignoring that. And so it wasn't that I just like started to listen to myself. No. I had to really have my ego challenged of, wow, I can't, like, what? Like, I was the person that was saying my baseline was 50K months, and then it went below that. And that was in my marketing, And so that was really challenging on, well, why would someone hire me then? And something that I say, and that which then showed me, that then reflected to me that I was making the reason why people were hiring me just simply about the money. And I love money and I love making money. I've been investing in stocks since before. I love learning about stuff like that and empowering myself to change my reality, my financial reality. But that also indicated to me how much importance I even had on that in terms of my worth as a business coach. So then what I started to do, and this is I'm going to make a whole podcast episode about this on my podcast. I started to ask the same question in a different tone. So instead of, why would anyone hire me now? I need to ask, okay, well, why would they hire me? And I needed to make a fucking list, like journal on it. And so journaling has been a big one for me too, is asking myself questions that takes it out of spinning in my mind to actually dropping in for the real answer and having a conversation with myself. And then I started to see, they're hiring me for my depth of penetrating understanding of astrology. They're hiring me because I see them how other people can't see them. They're hiring me because I love systems and structures. I'm sure you have a similar, I bet you have a type of client that is attracted to you because you have structure, like, yes, right? Like, and so sometimes there's like the masculine
because they're so sick of holding it, or they're floaty. It's true. It's like they either want to stay floaty or they're so masculine. They're like, oh, can you just hold this, please?
Yes. Yeah. Like both the polarities come. And then sometimes the women who are so much naturally in like a very flowy, like maiden energy. And they're like, they think structure is going to like take away and you need to know, babe, it's going to honor your feminine more. You're going to be more in your feminine when you have like your monthly recurring locked in. And so that whole dance, the confronting moments was the dips in revenue, the what was I making that mean about myself, and then the changes it's hard sometimes to explain the changes because it's not just, oh, I did this one practice. It truly is, I changed my beingness in my day to day. And one way that I started that was having more check-ins with myself. So actually another way that another calendar alarm thing that you can have is like having alarms in your phone that ring and are reminders to ask yourself, what do I need right now? And actually dropping in, and not just what do I need, but what do I want? Because going from survival mode, which is what do I need, into thriving is like, what do I want right now? It's like, you know what, actually, I would like to stretch my legs and go for a little walk, or I'm going to go get a little hot chocolate at the cafe or go read there for an hour or something. And like having more of that conversation with myself, and then just moment to moment, the dropping in, the slowing down, the noticing when my shoulders are up, the bringing it down. And then the times of specific practice are how I started to recreate those neural pathways that weren't there before, to check in with myself, like some structure of like, I'm doing this practice, or I'm in this course, or I'm doing this every morning. Like right now I'm in a 40-day devotional practice of chanting the Lakshmi mantra. I started it just before New Year's, and it's taking me until my birthday in February. And chanting, toning, and singing is amazing for your nervous system as well, because the vibration is coming from within you, and your vagus nerve bundles up around your diaphragm, as well as your cervix and other places. So it's like, I like to switch it up a lot. I love to just, it's never been one thing. It's been the ongoing like relationship with myself, being called to certain things, following my intuition. I'm going to do this for 40 days. Chanting is not usually a daily practice for me. And the more fun that you're having, the better, I think. So that's why I like to also keep it. I'm a Pisces moon, so I do like to keep it a little loosey-goosey at the same time of like, ooh, like here's a menu of things that support me to be in this energy and bring balance. Which one feels really alive for me? And then there's art as well. So art is one of the greatest ways of transmuting energy possible, right? It's whether for me, dance, poetry, and this year painting. Those have been my spaces where there's the alchemy that happens and transmutation that happens from making an artwork in any state that you're in. Is like, I've done a lot of expensive private retreats and like so many modalities and and like just sitting down and like writing a poem or like creating a painting with paint. I love the texture of paint. That's a new thing for me. Feels incredible. Holy fuck. So that's a big invitation and encouragement for anyone listening. I grew up thinking I'm not creative or not an artist, so it's quite a mind blow for me.
I think it's almost touching on the reparenting aspect as you were speaking. I was like, when you don't really have space to be creative and play as a child, like weaving some of this stuff back is like soothing to that part of you that needs play. We all do. Everyone needs play in their lives. I actually did a solo episode a few weeks ago where I spoke to this exact thing, where I was in 100K months and everything was on the up and up, and then I dropped back down to 40 and 30, and where it really shook my identity. So I love that you've weaved this in, and I'm not the only woman having conversations about it, because it was really confronting. Because similar, I'm like multi 7 and 8 figure business founder. What does it mean about me if I'm not a 7-figure founder this year? And I didn't hit 7 figures last year, and it like rocked my identity. It really similar made me question, like, why would someone hire me if I tell them that I'm going to help them make 7 figures in their business, but this year I didn't? And similar, I had to get really like true with the essence of who I am and how I help people, and almost how the experience in itself makes me a better leader. Because the story of, well, it just was easy from day one and I just kept growing, doesn't help those that have, it's not linear, like you said. And depending on what's happening in our nervous system, in our lives, like for me, I've felt alone my whole life, and 12 months ago, like I don't know if I love the term soulmate, but it feels like it. I was very opposed to it, but it's like this deepening into receivership came into my life. And it's almost like I wasn't fully allowing myself permission to integrate that, or to be with that, or to have that be the focus of my life. And I was really making the fact that my figures went backwards mean that who wants to work with me? Almost like the belief that I needed to be superhuman and that I couldn't have any variation of the story of success. And it's really been such medicine to be with. I've literally built businesses since I was 17 years old. And I don't need to attach identity to the 7-figure earner. So I love that you've spoken to that. I've loved that you've spoken to the recalibration and configuration. I think a lot more people need to hear that it doesn't have to mean anything. And I say so often we're such like meaning making machines, like we have to attach meaning to something. What if it just is? And what if that's okay? And what if I didn't even have to talk about it? But there's so much pressure, I feel, especially in the business coach world, to have this persona or mask, actually, if I wanted to label it, this is unmasked. And I think there's a whole almost expectation of masking. And I've really wanted to come back into truth and alignment and have these conversations. And I'm very grateful that you brought this to this space, because the whole point is, if a woman is listening to this and she's had 3 months of going backwards and she's used to going forwards, please stop making it mean that you're not worthy of success or love or continued growth, and let the season be the season and allow yourself to evolve through it and not collapse in it.
Absolutely. And I love the post that you made about that as well. And I think that when I remember doing a live that was titled Celebrating Lower Revenue Months, because I was telling myself and others that why I was sharing money wins. And I'd had haters and people call me out for sharing my money wins and stuff. And so I'd spoken to it a couple times where it's like, well, I shared this to show people what's possible. But if I'm only sharing it only at the highest numbers, that did not feel correct for me. I moved through it for a few weeks and then I decided, I'm a Leo rising. Let me just publicly, let's just bring it out into the light. And, that's where it comes back to asking that question, why would someone hire me, in a different voice? Where it's like, well, they'll hire you for your level of devotion to the truth. Because the fact is, sometimes there can be this belief system of, I'm on the right track because I'm making all this money. But you can make money in a way that's not aligned. And ultimately, what's more important for us is living in the full, our businesses are providing us the privilege to be even more radical with our path and with what we're called to do. And if God is calling me to write a book of my yearning love poetry, then I'm gonna fucking do that. And if I rest in 20 and 30K months, even 20K, that's that was the boogeyman to go back there. But what if it's not going backwards? What if it's just going forward on the terrain that's a bit bumpy at times, right? And I think sometimes when we think of backwards, what I think of is falling back in the hole. No, not back to the hole. I work so hard, I'm falling backwards. And that's just a nervous system thing. It's so interesting, isn't it? As soon as you said backwards, I was like I'm falling
I felt it in my body. It's I'm still the contraction, almost the part of me that still wants to be loved for the success and not the messy middle. It's can I be loved here? Can I be desired here? It's the whole stripping back that my relationship has given me. But this is almost I just had a realization. It's almost what my relationship has asked of me, to be loved in my mess and my uncertainty and my weakness almost, because being weak to me was labeled as not being safe, and not weak in the sense of, it's the control piece, the being the breadwinner, the having all the money and paying all the bills and doing all the things. Can I be loved if I'm in a season of rebuild? Is this man going to be able to see where I feel like I'm not worthy because I'm not providing in some way and still show up for me, and to witness him love me more? Is actually, I know it's so good. He's got God's gift to me. It's I think the conversation around this was almost the recalibration of this version of me in the women that I'm here to serve. It's okay, well, the man loved me in what I feel is my most vulnerable, unlovable moment, because I've been conditioned that, I got praised for making straight A's, and anytime I won at something, I received praise. And he's been recalibrating that on a intimate and relational sense. And it's almost that has then laid the blueprint and foundation of okay, that is easy because he loves you and it's safer here. Can you let the world see you in this? Can you show up in the vulnerability of, I'm actually not perfect, but will you love me anyway? And that has had such medicine. It's similar. I just woke up one day and I'm like, right, I'm talking about this. I'm like a tell-all post. I have to speak to it. Like the part of me that wants to be stripped bare and exposed and seen by the world. So yeah, I'm celebrating you in all of that, and thank you for bringing this to the conversation. And I do believe it's a recalibration of worth, in my view. It's
absolutely.
And I still feel it in my body. It's like where my chest gets a bit tight, where I feel like I want to cry, because there's a little girl in here that's like, will you love me even when I'm not? It's not even at my best. There's a deeper word I want to find, but it's like, how is the world going to respond when I'm not wearing this mask and when I can't pretend I'm the most successful in the room, because that's always been a mask of mine. So yes. It's these conversations of like, it's actually okay. You know, it's fine to be loved in the messy middle, and I can be with that, and I can love myself in that. And that's the medicine I feel so many women need, because when you carry this shield and sword for so long, it's like I've set that aside, and I'm actually going to let you see the truth of who I am, and the part of me that will still show up, will navigate her way through. So the next time I'm with a woman who comes to me and says, Leslie, my numbers have gone backwards, I feel shit about myself, what do? I can say, babe, I've been there, and it's okay. And we're going to use this to find every place you've attached money to worth, or money to safety, which was true of my story too. It's, I'm not safe unless I'm making money. Yeah, so. Absolutely. I feel like these are so important right now, because a lot of people are having this experience right now. And even some of my mentors that never speak about it publicly have privately spoken to me about things like that, you know, joking that, oh, you know, Ayesha, like I used to just say the word pleasure and just make 30K in a day or whatever. And it's like market conditions have changed. And so what if it's not about, oh, I'm not making as much as I used to. And I'm saying this to myself as much as anyone, because I still struggle with this sometimes too, you know, like it's every new launch or every new thing is very vulnerable. I remember when a flash sale would almost guarantee me $60,000 in like a day or a weekend. I remember those days. Those were good days. But at the same time, it's like, what if people are hiring you for the way you lead yourself through the inevitable ups and downs in life? And like, look at the world right now, like the economy, the United States, the US dollars, like as the world reserve currency, this and that. It's like, there's a lot. Look, we're moving into the Aquarian age. The world is going to be unrecognizable in the Aquarian age. And the banking systems that, you know, it's just all connected, right? When there's all these layoffs and a woman's, if our client are women and their partner got laid off in the thousands, especially in North America. I don't know what it's like in Australia, but in North America, in the United States in particular, where a lot of my clients are, I'm Canadian, but a lot of my clients are from the States, there's insane record amount of layoffs. It's like that has a ripple effect, that has a domino effect, and we're part of that ecosystem. And so what if it's then just what if it's not even, like in my lower revenue months that I've had in this past year, I wouldn't say I was messier. Actually, I was messier sometimes in those higher revenue months, because I was partaking in more, drinking on the weekends, like letting off steam because I was blah, blah, blah. So it's actually like, I feel that there became, with working with the artist archetype, and my nervous system, there became more of a suppleness where it was no longer this rigidity of who I am. And I actually felt more alive, like felt like I'm living life. Like when I write a poem in the cafe at night and like the snow's falling, like I feel like, oh, I'm like living my life right now. And whereas there was times where I was hitting record high, not all my record high months, but some of them where I was just on autopilot in a way, and just, you know, fulfilling and delivering and pumping it out, you know. And now my content feels a lot more like art. And that was another thing that was a challenge for me, another drop. And for some reason, I feel like, you know, when you're going down in an elevator, especially those like really high, like modern elevators, you're like, fuck, you start feeling that sinking. It kind of feels like that. But there was a time when the Instagram algorithm really, really worked in my advantage, like a lot. And then there became like 2 years, I also started talking about politics. I started talking about all kinds of stuff that they didn't want me to talk about. And so I for sure was shadow banned. But at the same time, there was other times where I wasn't really talking about it, where it felt like there's the algorithm changes. We're no longer as supportive for businesses, and we can feel like a victim to that, or we can realize, wow, I
can make this amazing money, meet all these amazing people from creating beautiful pictures and sharing my writing, and sharing my message online. Like, that's such a privilege, actually. And if I'm going to use it, then I want to use it with a positive attitude around it. And then through approaching it and slowly, different layers of my own unleashing of my channel and what I wanted to say, I got that engagement back somehow, which really surprised me. And I let go of the attachment to it, where there was a point where I'd pulled myself back and I was like, wow, I'm pouring my heart out. And this type of post used to get 3,000 likes and now it fucking doesn't. And I felt bitter. I'm a projector. Our not self is bitterness. I was like, I'm bitter. And like, why am I doing this? And like, people are missing out on what I got? Blah, blah, blah. And like, it just came full circle with just realizing like, I'm creating because it feels good. And yes, I could do things to make more money that might work better, but that's not, I now have that standard of how I want to live as part of that like round circular ecosystem instead of money at the top, where before it wasn't like that. I was like, I need to take growing up the way we did. It's like, I need to take every opportunity to get myself to a better position. And women of color also have a unique relationship with that as well. And so I very much had that, where now it's like, I have built the house. Now, how do I actually want to live and be in my body and be in my life? And so that meant a lot less calls. It meant I barely do one-to-one anymore. It meant one-to-many. It meant, doing calls 3 days a week or whatever, and like different things, and taking holidays, where I have a Telegram membership where that always continues when I'm on holiday, but not having calls, but just doing my Telegram audios, and just really seeing myself as the artist of my life.
Yeah.
That was a big shift for me.
I love that. Thank you so much for this conversation. If there was one thing you could leave the audience with, like one insight, wisdom, like question you want to leave them with to change the way they've been relating with themselves and success, what would it be?
Oh my God, that's such a hard question. So I have like 3 different things. So I'll just like
give me 3. It's fine.
Abundance, baby, abundance. One is, I cannot imagine my life without exploring my blueprints of human design and astrology, because it's just like looking at a mirror when you need a perspective and you need to take out tunnel vision from a certain thing and from your metrics and stuff. Like, to me, looking at that is like looking at myself in a mirror and remembering who I am. So I really encourage just that whatever exploration of that people feel inspired to, because it really is such an incredible tool. Another is, the world is going to drastically change. So if we spend a lot of energy holding on to how things were in the past, there is no going backwards, right? So when we can just let that go and just like be present where we are in our 2 feet and know like we were born naked, we're going to die naked, and actually find the turn on in that and find the excitement in that. And yeah, like one day maybe the internet grids will go out or something. And it's like, who you are, you get to bring with you, and like, just, yeah, like loving that person, exploring different facets of yourself, exploring different hobbies, and just feeling the richness of life. That's really been, I would say, the biggest shift for me. And so I offer that to others as well, especially around artistry. I feel like that just had a lot of it for me, of just feeling like I'm a creator and I'm not just outside of, I love numbers. I loved math even in school. I was amazing. I'm just like a math, chess, strategy, like, we're just not, when you're a natural strategist, you know what it's like,
really?
Right? It's fun. It's fun. It's great.
It's so
but
good.
letting go of that into the nonlinear and allowing that to be woven into your business. While at the same time, you can still have, like I said, the baseline, the monthly recurring revenue. I still look ahead at the spreadsheet and see when the monthly recurring is going to dip and plan a launch for 2 months before that. It's complementing it with the strategy without losing the juiciness to it and without getting rigid. And for myself, there was a texture of rigidity and like frayed kind of energy, like frayed sparks flying kind of thing. And now it feels a lot smoother and more supple. And that was the multifaceted journey with the nervous system and other stuff that I mentioned. But yeah, if you can fall in love with the journey, then you're gonna be golden.
I love that. And I think a lot of what we spoke to is literally that, the journey versus the destination, because there really is no destination. And
thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I knew this was going to be such a great conversation. Where can people find you?
So people can follow me on Instagram at oath.oracle. I also have a podcast called the Aquarian Age Business Podcast, where we talk about revolution and astrology and business and all kinds of fun stuff. And yeah, just thank you so much. I feel like I could keep talking to you for like 3 more hours. This is one of my favorite episodes like that I've done. I'm so excited to share this with my audience. So thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Thank you for your heart and the gift that you are in this world.
Thank you for listening to Unmasked Founders with me, Leslie Kay. Follow Leslie Kay on social media for more insights, and we'll see you in the next episode. You can find me at Leslie with a Z, Kaye. Check the show notes for how to spell my name. Remember, true success is built from the inside out.